What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Logistical Styles coming at you with another video. I know it's been a long time since I've done a video, probably about 3 weeks now, maybe almost a month. It's just been really busy, and I figured now would be a good time to make a video to kind of do a bit of a gig log and a gig review and show what I've been doing in the past few weeks. So it's been really busy. Uh, Wedding season has come and it's in full swing right now. I've actually, the last video I believe that I did was my first wedding for the year actually, but the for the season for me. And it was a good wedding. It was a good slow start. I did the gig log. You can check that video out. Small wedding, but got me back into shape for doing weddings. But then since then I've done several other weddings. Probably I think it's been 3 weddings now since then, and they've been much bigger, much more involved, even further away. All these weddings so far have been in the country, been in rural areas of Georgia and Tennessee. So I've been doing a little bit of traveling, and it's been working out well. And I've been learning some things and adjusting my workflow a little bit. So I am a one-man show, and I do a lot of subcontracting. So I don't have the same luxury that a lot of DJs that book their own gigs or that work under different circumstances than me. I don't have the same luxury that they have. I usually am asked if I'm available for a date, and if I am, we work on the price, and usually it's not a whole lot of negotiation on that end because I work with the same DJs over and over again, so they know what my rates are and what my expectations are before they even offer me the gig. So as a subcontractor, I just get a date, location, a couple of names, a playlist. I show up, I do my thing, and a big part of my show is my presentation. I come in there, I'm on time, I'm early, I set up. Clean, I got a good clean setup, and I'm always working to tweak it and evolve it, and that is what makes these DJs book me for their events. So that's just a little bit of background. But anyway, it kind of I always feel like I have to give that context because a lot of DJs when they see stuff online and they want to comment on it, they always comment from their perspective or what they always do and how they work. But these videos that I do are really for me to show you my workflow and how I do my events and the outcome I get, and hopefully maybe they show you something that you didn't know, or maybe you can comment with something that I didn't know. But it's not always a gospel. It's not ever really for me a gospel of this is the way you are supposed to do events. I don't care if you just do weddings or you do bar mitzvahs or you do birthday parties or you do corporate or whatever. Each different type of DJing has different nuances that require you to um, work a certain way, and even then your circumstance. Like I don't have a helper when I go out. It's me. I'm a one man show, so there are certain things that I do specifically because it's just me. And I like to have a little bit more of a somewhat of elaborate show. I don't want to just come up and be very basic. So, I have lights, and that requires, manpower to put that out and get that programmed and working. Multiple sound systems. So when I do ceremonies, I do cocktail hour, and I also do the main reception. And sometimes, a lot of times, those are 3 different locations. So I have to have the right tools for that job. And what you'll see in my gig logs is how I use my tools. So anyway, let's now that we've gotten that out the way, that's my little sermon for internet DJs that always have opinions. But let's go hop in. I'll show you what I've been doing. So the first gig I did after, well, I guess the second wedding for the season for me was at this horse barn. Not a horse barn, but a horse farm. And it was a really dope location. I can't remember exactly. It was in Toccoa, Georgia, and it was at a location it started out as a residence for this couple. They got a lot of money and they built a really nice house out there. Then they realized they outgrew the house and decided to make it to an Airbnb. And then they started seeing that if they put a little bit more construction into it and they could focus on being a wedding venue. So now they just focus primarily only on wedding rentals for weekends. It's a really nice house, and they have this really dope venue right here. I'm gonna pull it up on the iPad. So this is in their backyard. This is their backyard right here, and this is from my perspective from where I was standing. And this is as the bride was giving a speech for her mother. It was a really small wedding, about 40 people in attendance in total, but and it was all outdoors, so I didn't have to use any lighting. Although I did carry lights with me, I didn't need them at all because you see it's pretty bright out there. And I had RCFs. I had one on um, the far end, and then I had one where I am on that end right there. So that was a really nice wedding. Let me see if I can find a better shot. Let's see what my setup looked like. So this was my setup right here. Well, right here. So this was the setup. I had my DJ furniture. So this was my Odyssey black fold out stand that I put the 3D panels on, and I built this top part right here, which is what's holding the controller, which is already in a road case. And then you see I had my RCF right there. So it gave me a really good clean setup, and the best part about this wedding was the fact that I drove up right to here. So right where you see this little road right here, that is where I was able to pull up to unload and to load in and unload. So that was really a really good setup right there for me. A great location. It allowed me to really just get in and get out with no problem. And of course, you know, they did some dancing. They had some fun. You know, even when you have a small crowd, you don't always have to worry. You don't focus too much. When you have a small crowd, you don't focus too much on the dance floor, but you do want to get people up and out of their seats. You want to get them moving. And that's what, you know, I was able to do with their playlist. And that's another thing. They always give me a playlist. So a lot of times I'm playing like 80% of, maybe 90% of the music that they chose, and then I'm filling in. So that's, you know, what was happening at that wedding. It was a great wedding. It had a good, the view was phenomenal. I want to show you what the ceremony site looked like a little bit. Let's see. Oh, let me show you what my ceremony system looked like. So for this wedding, I used the Mackie Thump Go. I only had one because it was a small crowd, and we were out in the middle of nowhere. We were on like 43 acres of land. And I had my Mackie Mobile Mix. I have a Phoenix Pro handheld, just in case I needed to make an announcement, which I did not need. And then I had the Phoenix Pro lapel mics. So there's two of them set for this one receiver right here. And then one single handheld, which is what I had right there. And they ran into the back of the Mackie Mobile Mix, and that's how I was able to control the sound. And then you see this little Anker hub. This right here is what I connect to the USB-C port of my iPad, which gives me a headphone jack, and it allows me to plug the headphone jack into the back, into channel, what is that, 6, 7, channel 6 and 7. And then it all runs into the Mackie Thump Go, and it sounded great. Now, the thing about those Phoenix Pros, the PDP, the handheld unit where you have that small receiver and then the lapel packs, the body packs, a couple of things about those. The screen on the body packs is horrible in the daytime. You cannot see it. I've done it. I've used these at a couple of weddings, and you just cannot see the screen. You really have to cover your hand over it so you can see what you're looking at. Second, they do work well when there's no other interference, and then in this particular location, you see I'm surrounded by just trees and sky. So there was no issues with interference on that. So everything worked out well with that. But there are other locations where you can't go too far with those, and it becomes an issue where you may get a little bit of popping and crackling, and I don't like that. So what I've decided to do over my last week or so is I purchased a 100-foot extension cable that allows me to plug in the PDP, the receiver, anywhere I needed to go. Like, so I can put it right behind or right near the altar or where the ceremony is taking place, and that way the mics and the receiver will be like within 5-6 feet of each other. But I've got this 100-foot cable, and it sounds like a lot, and it isn't really a lot. I mean, it's a very thin cable. It's not very heavy. And when you're doing these outdoor events, it's very easy to conceal and just run that right back to your mixer. So you're getting good, easy wireless. The other option for me is my trusty Rode Go mics. I use those all the time. I like those. But I was experimenting with the Phoenix Pros, and I'm glad I did, because in one of these weddings coming up next, not the next one, but coming up, you'll see I had to do a wedding that had 4 mics. I had to mic up the bride, the groom, and there were 2 officiants. But let's move on from this wedding. And like I said, it was a great wedding. It was up in Toccoa, Georgia. And just real one more shot of my setup from there. This is what the setup looks like from the other side. I have everything hooked up into my headliner Rode case. Wireless mics are under the controller, and I'm able to have my laptop with DJ Pro and my iPad with DJ Pro, so I can have any song available ready for me to go. And the iPad is cellular based as well, so I didn't have to worry about the venue's Wi-Fi. So that's what the setup looked like right there. So let me jump over to the next wedding that we did, and let's see, let me pull that up. The next wedding I did was a couple weeks ago, and it was in a really nice location, and I'll show you what my setup looked like right here. I had, once again, the RCFs. I had my moving headlights. I put them on the floor because I didn't have time to put them up in stands, and I'm not really a big fan of stands. And as you can see, this was a pretty big room. This room probably had maybe 150 people in for the wedding. RCFs, J8s, they worked really well, no issues at all. On this wedding, I had put the TV in front of the DJ furniture, because that's kind of what the company that I work for, they sold, that's like an upsell for them to allow me to have, or they charge for me to run a slideshow of their engagement pictures. And this is just a run of the room, just so you can see how big it was. And this was actually an interesting thing about it. This is my first time using, let me see if I can pause it. No, it won't let me pause it. But this is my first time using the Shed's moving headlight. I know I did a review on it probably about almost a year ago, but this is my first time actually being able to pull it out to a big enough event, and it worked really, really well. I was really happy with the way it looked. Let me see. I thought I had some video of it. Well, you'll see a snippet of it in here. So you see, I had him going. I had him dancing. Let's see. Will this one be it? No. No. Trying to get a video. These are all still shots. Let's see. There's a lot of dancing. Let's just say that. A lot of dancing. So everybody had a really good time. That was a great wedding. And my uplights, they really popped well in that room. A white room is definitely going to be a good environment for lighting, because it just reflects and the lights bounce off and look really well. So that was a good wedding, and that was in a city called Trenton, Georgia, and that venue was really nice. Everything about it was nice, from the outside to the ceremony site. It was really beautiful. They had plenty. Let me see. This is what the outside looked like, and if you can look, I'll pull it up right there in the back. That's me with that's my Mackie Thump Go, using almost the same setup. I had the Mackie Thump Go with the Mackie Mobile Mix, and I used that. And this time, I learned that the Phoenix Pros are not great in high wind environments. Even with the windscreen on the lapel, I mean, the wind was pretty high. I think we were getting gusts of like 23 miles per hour that day. So it was a little bit, it was very windy. In fact, we were really going to be set up to have the ceremony inside because it was supposed to rain. And as I was driving to the location, I drove through rain. And the wedding started at 4:30, and they didn't want to make a decision until 4 o'clock if they were going to do it indoor or outdoor. But I kind of felt like they were going to force it, so we got it done. I went and set up early and made sure we were ready for indoor outdoor, and I had both. That's another thing that I'm doing this year is I didn't just have that Mackie Thump go over there. I had another one right here. So the sound it was clear. The only problem was the wind was just blowing, so you got to hear a lot of wind rumble, and that was, kind of problematic, at least for me. Nobody complained. They loved it. They, gave me great reviews, $100 tip. Every wedding so far, except last week's, I got big, big tips. But last week's was kind of an odd wedding. But I'll get into that anyway. And that was the setup for that wedding out there in Trenton. And like I said, or I showed you, they danced and had a really good time. And I did too as well. And then the last wedding, or the most recent wedding, I just did this past weekend. This was out in, where was this? This was in Monroe, Georgia, which is the same city where my first wedding so far has been in. And this wedding was it was big. They had 200 people in attendance for the wedding. But the thing about it is they just drug it out. They booked too much time, and the wedding ended so much earlier than they expected it to. But part of that is, there was no alcohol. There were a lot of kids, so the parents, they were ready to get out of there. I mean, the wedding started at 2. By 6:45, 7 o'clock, I was packing up and leaving. But it worked out really well. I mean, it was a beautiful wedding, and I used both. They had two officiants, and the bride also wanted to be mic'd up, so I didn't mic her personally. The One of her, I guess her handler, she came and got the wireless lapel from me, and I instructed her on how to use it, and she routed the microphone through her dress. So it sounded good. I was really happy with it. Between both the Phoenix Pro and the Rode Wireless Goes in that location, they both worked really well. The sound was very good for the ceremony. You could hear everything, and I think I'm going to continue to use those. I'm definitely always have been a fan of the Rode Wireless Go for my ceremony systems, and I'm going to continue to use that because they sound great, especially when you put the lavalier mic on it. So that's just a little tip for you as well. But let's take a look at my setup here. This setup was different because they had a table for me. So even though I had some furniture with me, they had a table there. I just said, hey, let's go with that because it's already there. Less work for me. Keep some stuff in the car. This building was huge. This building, like I said, they had 200 people in there, at least for, ceremony and for dinner. But it was just, I was a little worried about whether or not, I didn't even show you. This is it. This is my setup. I came in and I had a black table there waiting for me. So I was like, let's just go with that. And I did something different. I've stopped using a T-bar for my lights, but I didn't want to I didn't want to carry a whole lot of other stuff. So I just used the T-bar, and that was just pretty much sufficient for the party. Let's see. This is what the size of the room looked like. And it's equally as big. This is dead center from me, and then right here, this is like a big hangar door over there. And this is my setup, and you'll notice I'm a little bit casual for this wedding because I got there a little bit late. I didn't have enough time. I should have got there earlier, even though I did bring a change of clothes. By the time I got everything up and running, it was time to run the ceremony. And when I do my wedding setups, I always wear at least the pants and shoes that I'm going to be wearing for the remainder of the day or night, and then I'll change my shirt and put on a tie or maybe a vest, sometimes a suit coat. Not too often here in Georgia will I wear a suit coat, but if it's a fall or winter wedding, maybe I will. But anyway, let's see. I had them dancing. The kids had a good time. We pulled out glow sticks. That was part of their way of trying to get people to stay involved because they knew it was going to be a struggle with no alcohol and being such a crowd full of kids. Like you see how empty the room got, you know. After dinner was served, a lot of people started making their way out, and it wasn't necessarily because they were bored or anything like that. It's just that it took me 2 hours, and it took me an hour and a half to get to this location. So this is like deep, deep South Georgia. So after a while, you know, people were like, "We got to start heading back." But of course, they stuck around to do the usual dances, you know, all the line dances, and they had a lot. They had a lot of fun. So, and that's what counts. And that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm in the middle of what this wedding season is putting together some great events that people can really enjoy and have a good time. The clients have all been happy with the results. You know, they spend good money for entertainment for their friends and family. And, you know, regardless of how big or small it is, I'm always going to put forth my best to make sure that it's a successful event. So that was, you know, pretty much what I've been up to over these past few weeks. Just showing you what my setup is. You know, my ceremony setup has been working great. It's the Rock, well, no, it's the Mackie Thump Go with the Mackie Mobile Mix. The Phoenix Pro mics have been working okay, but I'm going to stick with using the Rode Wireless Go's. My only issue with the Rode Wireless Go's is because I've had them so long now, I think my batteries are starting to not be able to hold as much of a charge as they used to. Like they're supposed to last like I think the packaging says 6 to 7 hours. I'm not getting that by any means. I'm going to do some stress testing to see exactly how much time I'm getting. I usually try not to turn my mics on until like maybe 30 minutes before the event or the ceremony. So that way I know I have enough juice to get through. But that is one thing I'm concerned about. But I think even if I do have to, you know, get some more wireless because the battery doesn't work so well, I'm going to go back with the Rode Wireless Go. In fact, I'm going to get the newer versions that have come out because they seem to be doing even better. I've seen a lot of photographers using those as well. Other than that, you know, my new console, I'm loving using the DJ Rev, the Pioneer Rev 5. That is a great controller. It's definitely what I needed. I had fun with the Rev 1, but now I've upgraded and it makes a big difference. Uh, Everything else is, you know, you've seen me using this and I've done reviews on it. I'll try to get more in depth into the Rev 5 and how I'm using it. And I have been using DJ Pro for all these events. So I think I am fully converted over to DJ Pro for my events, mainly because I have the ability to use stems. And that is coming really, really handy. In fact, quick story, the last wedding I just did, the bride, she recorded a voice recording on her phone and she wanted me to mix that over her entrance music and it worked out so well. I mean, the final result was great. I mean, when she made it down to the end of the aisle, um, there was a standing ovation. I've never seen people clap when the bride made it to the end or made it to the altar. So that it was because of this mix I had put together with her voice over the music that she was coming down to. But the point of the story is she had made a voice recording on her phone, and there was a lot of background noise. You could hear like the wind blowing, cars driving by, and she was like, "Do I need to do it again?" I was like, "Nope, I'm gonna use stems or neural mix because I'm using DJ Pro." So I used that, and I was able to perfectly remove all the background noise, keep just her voice, and blend it in perfectly with her walking down the aisle music. And she read it and timed it so well that when she got to the end, right to the altar, it was just ending on her last words of the music of her speech. And so, like I said, the crowd loved it. It came out really well. I bet you her wedding video is going to be awesome. But it's little things like that that I like to learn and experiment with, and I like to have the tools to be able to fulfill a bride's requests when needed. You know, when they have something that it may be a challenge, but I know I can get around it because I know my tools and I read manuals. So that type of thing is really cool. But I'm gonna try to do more gig reviews as I do the event. You know, I just did this one to kind of get caught up. Uh, I feel like I'm slacking on my content a little bit, and I don't know. I'm still playing with the idea of possibly doing a live show. Going back to that, I remember at one maybe 2 years ago I had attempted to try to do like a every Friday live series, but it's it's kind of hit or miss with me because my schedule is so weird sometimes. I'm usually working from home Mondays and Fridays, so I have time to make videos really if I put my effort into it. But I also use those days to prep for gigs and to unload from gigs. So I'm really trying to find a better way to get more content out here. But I do have some more things to talk about. Probably going to be doing another video very shortly because I am finally upgrading my DIY photo booth. I have to use photo booth for a couple of weddings coming up, so I had to fix some things, and I got a new iPad, so I'm with an iPad Pro now, so I had to get a bigger ring light. So now I have a 22-inch ring light, and I made it, and I added it to my photo booth. So I'm going to do a walkthrough on that, show you how that's working out, and just hopefully have more content that is useful. So if you like what you see, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment below, and check me out on all my social media. It's all under Logistical Styles, Facebook, Instagram, all that. All right, until next time, I am out, and y'all keep checking out the videos. All right, peace.